already learned about nouns and pronouns. Today we're going to be focusing on verbs this entire week and into next week. So we have different types of verbs. First of all, a verb is a word that represents an action, occurrence, or state of being. It's one of the main parts of a sentence. If you don't have a verb in a sentence, it's not a complete sentence. We have different kinds. We're going to be talking about action, linking, auxiliary, and irregular. So action words or action verbs are probably the easiest ones to understand. So it expresses an action that the subject in your sentence does. For example, run, jump, ski, bake. Those are all action verbs. So you have Jenny and Sam ran to the store. Okay. Jenny and Sam are the nouns that are completing that action of ran. In the evening, the ducks swim in the pool. Ducks are the ones that are swimming or doing the action. And the squirrel gathered food at the campsite. Gathered is our verb, and squirrel is the subject of that sentence. Next, we have linking verbs. Think of them as linking part of a sentence together. So they connect a subject of the verb to additional information about the subject. Okay, it does not show action. And usually when we have a linking verb, there's only one in that sentence. So for example, you have be, so you have am, is, are, was, were, have been, become, and seen are some of your linking verbs you will see in sentences. For example, the students are excited about the field trip. Are is linking students to the rest of the sentence, saying that they're excited about the field trip. If you just said the students are, that is not a complete sentence by itself. You need to have the rest of the sentence. Okay? He looks exhausted. Looks is not an action in this case. He's not actually physically doing that, but it does link he to exhausted. And the last one we have here, the puppies were playful. So were is linking puppies to playful. Again, those are linking verbs, they do not show action. And we have auxiliary verbs, which you would have known them as probably helping verbs in elementary school. It's another verb to help express tense, mood, or voice. Again, a lot of the same verbs that you were going to use, but these ones are also joined with an action verb. So again, we have am, is, are, was, were, being, and been, does, do, did, has, have, and having. Okay, so these are some words that never change their forms. There's a list there for you to refer back to. So, auxiliary verbs. Does she have a goldfish? Okay. The main verb is have, and auxiliary verb or helping verb is does. They will not go to the stadium today. The main verb is go, and the auxiliary verb is will. And we are eating ice cream tonight. Main verb is eating, and the auxiliary verb is are. So just make sure you guys understand the difference between linking and auxiliary. So you would have, number linking does not show action, and it's just one verb in that sentence that's just linking the subject to the rest of the sentence. For example, Louisa is a student. The class seems interesting. Auxiliary or helping also is paired with a main verbs or action verbs. So Louisa is writing the paper. So we said is writing. So there's two verbs in that sentence. Josie can go to the arcade. Again, go is my main verb, can is helping it out. So for helping verbs, there's going to be at least two verbs in that sentence. So we have different verb forms that we have here. We have infinitive, simple present, simple past, past participle, and present participle. We're not going to get into great detail about these. As long as you're using verbs correctly is my main purpose for going over verbs. So this is just the pattern that most verbs follow. Not all of them follow that. We'll get into talking about those. So these are just the different forms. If you notice, these ones all follow that pattern. To walk, to smile, to laugh. The next simple present, we're just adding s to them. Simple past, remember past tense of verbs, you just add ed to the end of them. Past participle, we also add ed to the end of them. And present participle, we just add ing. These verbs are ones that follow the pattern. These are what you would call regular verbs. They follow a pattern. So then we have your regular verbs that do not follow those patterns. Those are the ones that get a little tricky. So here's a list of irregular verbs. I have learned some of these in elementary school. For example, to swim, swims, swam, swum, swimming. Drive, drives, drove, driven, driving. So again, these are just a list that you can refer back to help you. These ones get kind of tricky, especially whenever they don't follow that normal pattern with the normal regular verbs. One of the biggest things that I want to make sure you guys understand is subject-verb agreement when we go over verbs. So in order to be grammatically correct, the verb must agree with the subject or noun of the sentence. Okay, so if it's a singular subject, um, you need a singular verb. The cake is delicious. The cake is singular, and the verb is also singular. We're talking about one cake. So if we're doing a plural subject, the cakes are delicious. So our cake is plural now, and then the verb are is also plural. A lot of times it helps to read your sentences out loud to make sure they make sense and you're understanding them. Then we have collective nouns, name groups of things and people in our singular nouns. For example, family, group, majority, team, and class. Those are all singular forms. We need to make sure that we are also providing a singular verb. For example, the team will celebrate its victory tonight. When the bell rang, the class was dismissed. Okay. So we also have some indefinite pronouns are singular and require a singular verb. For example, anyone, everyone, someone, no one, nobody. For example, someone went to the store yesterday. Nobody has any spare change. Anyone can eat at the new restaurant. Even though this sounds very confusing, if you guys just simply read your sentence out loud and figure out which word best completes that sentence, a lot of times just saying them out loud helps you. Okay. Um, Sometimes indefinite pronouns or pronouns are going to be plural. For example, all and some. We're talking about more than one thing. All of the toys are new. All of the cake is gone. So it all depends on how it's being used to show you which form of the verb you need. So as we go through this week, you guys are going to be doing different verb activities. If you get stuck in any of them, please let me know, and I'm here to help.